But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Good evening. Welcome to NUFC Matters. Yes, we're live. Definitely live. Keith, are you live? Steve, are you live?
I think I am.
I'm live, yes.
Well, people always ask in the chat, are you live? Yes, we are live. We promised you we're doing an Amigos live. So here we are. And before we start on the show, kickstarting into the weekend in true NUFC Matters style, I want to say a belated happy birthday to Wayne Bennett. Wayne, I apologise because I forgot this last week. And it was in amongst loads of other things that I was sent. But belated happy birthday to you. And he just sent us an inbox. He just said, Steve, hope you're well. Sorry to have you hear you had a difficult previous week. Any chance of a shout out on Friday's show for my birthday, which was yesterday? Looking forward to getting back up to the tune ASAP in the new year and hopefully get to finally meet you. Sorry I missed you last time, mate. Last time I was up with the 2 pre-season friendlies and met these 2 legends before the game. Thanks, mate, and take care. And of course, it's Keith and Steve that he met. So in the Strawberry. So yes, Wayne, belated happy birthday. I hope you had a good Christmas.
All the best.
And I hope you have a new. I hope you have a new year full of good health and happiness, mate. And that nails that. And I've got to say thanks to David Cook for sending this. This is an absolute belter. I know David's watching as well. He goes, this was me on my way to Wembley in 1976. Says, let's go back and do a similar post in 2023, although I suspect I may have less hair. That's a brilliant photograph, David. Thanks for sending that in, mate. Absolutely superb. And thanks for all your support on the show. I noticed you were straight away in the chat early doors tonight, just wishing us all the best. So thanks for that, David. Much appreciated. And here is Mitch, bringing them in. How are you, Mitch?
Not too bad. Thanks. Just room like a blue horse fly as usual.
No worries, mate. Good to see you. And welcome to the show. You haven't missed anything. I've just had to get a few formalities out the way. And we're going to start with the biggest talking point in world football, Keith, and that is the passing of the legend that was Pelé. And some amazing tributes. If you've been watching the TV or the news today, you couldn't have escaped the plaudits coming from north, south, east, and west of not just the UK, but all different corners of the world. And this man probably up there with the likes of Muhammad Ali, I guess, for touching the world of football as he did in the world of boxing, but also, just as a person, I think that I've heard so many different tributes from the man in the street who bumped into Pelé at an event, or maybe he's bumped into him in the street, and just a very humble guy, somebody who essentially, just touched the hearts of millions across the world, Keith.
I think he is. I think when you talk about him, there's been a lot of use of a phrase called GOAT, greatest player of all time, I'm told. And I think the difference is the people who are vying for the position of GOAT live in a world of social media. And I think that goes a long way. Some of these people have millions and millions of followers. Pelé lived in a world probably when they didn't have telephones and certainly not mobile phones. And I remember watching the 70s World Cup with that strips him of what Steve's got on tonight, and he was just a genius. And for me, there's only ever one GOAT. There only ever will be. He is the greatest player that ever played the game of football, and I include everybody in that. And when what's been moving is I saw a quote that Alan Shearer put out about him, and if you see what Shearer said after he went, and there was a picture of him and Pelé together, and he just nailed it of how humble he was and how much Pelé had given to the game of football. But I saw a video today where they brought all the great moves of the past, people like Cruyff, who was a world beater, and he did what was called the Cruyff turn in I think it was the 74 World Cup. But then they showed clips of Pelé 6 and 7 years earlier doing exactly that turn. And I think all the great turns, clips, moves, and genius tricks that people have done that's covered in that Pelé video. It's 20 minutes long or something. It's just moves that he did years before anybody else, and moves you've seen great players like Ronaldo and Messi do, and Pelé did them all first. And when you go to play golf, you talk about people who's geniuses in golf, and people talk about affection for people like Ballesteros and things. But when you go back to golf and you play, no matter what people do when they go back to swings, it all seems to come back to one man, and that was Ben Hogan. And when you read his book, everything goes back to Ben Hogan, and they're still now practicing things that he did years and years ago, and they say, well, Hogan did that. And people reinvent things. But in football, I think Pelé did everything first, and then everyone's copied. Everyone else, I mean, like Cruyff majored on a turn that was called the Cruyff turn. But I've seen clips tonight where 10, 15 years earlier, Pelé was doing it in more than one game. You know what I mean? He was doing it. It was the exact same turn. So I think you talked about the death of, I don't know, Elvis to music, Muhammad Ali to boxing. There'll never be another Muhammad Ali again. There's some great heavyweights, but there'll never be another Cassius Clay come Muhammad Ali. And I think in this game, I think those who were lucky enough to see him play. I saw an article today where he played against Newcastle, and I think it was 1970. It might have been. I think Newcastle played away in a friendly, and I think it might have been late 60s. Anyway, 1-1. I was told. I was reading up on a 1-1, and then Pelé scored 3 goals and then substituted himself. It was towards the end of his career. And Newcastle thought they were doing well, played away against his side, and he came on. And great players that played for Newcastle in the day said, he just won a different league, different planet, different level to us. We thought we were competing with them. So they always see you celebrate people when they've gone more. If that's the case, you'll see massive things come out about this man, but he is just a one-off. His humility, his personality, his character, he was just the best that ever graced a football field. And I don't think there's been great players have followed that we've mentioned some tonight, but I don't think they'll follow. I don't think anybody will match what that fella did. He was beyond himself. He was pure genius. I got a video clip sent today of our friend Mark in America, and he said the pitches he played on were shocking. They were threadbare pitches. He was performing genius. Mark Byers sent it. It was a great video of it, and he said this man's doing genius on pitches covered in mud. He was just something else, and very, very sad time. Gutted when it happened, but when somebody's struggling with cancer and the treatment's not responding, and they say the treatment that was working stopped working, you've got to ask yourself, should they have to hold on, and should they have to suffer and go through more pain? And I think for what he's given this world, he deserved to die in peace and die gracefully and die without love. So for me, really sad time, genius of a man, never be bettered before or after he's dead.
Yeah, Mitch. I mean, it's been a sad day, but a reflective day for a lot of football supporters around the world. And Eddie Howe touched on it in his press conference as well. He never seen him play, seen the footage like we've all seen over the years of what Pelé did. The only person to win 3 World Cups, of course. But also said that he just blown away by just the footage that he'd seen of this player.
Yeah, and I think Keith's touched on it. If you look at any sport, or any form of entertainment, also, the true legends within them do 2 things: they transcend generations, and they don't cause much in the way of controversy. People tend not to have a bad word to say about them, and that's very much Pelé. It's all, as I've said before, I think people probably remember, it's always difficult to compare across generations of football. But again, as Keith rightly said, if you look at the status of the pitches he was playing on, compared to the modern day, it makes you wonder what would he be capable of with modern training techniques and modern football pitches and modern equipment. But either way, you just have to watch some of those things. I've seen the video that Keith's talking about today, where basically Pelé did it first. You think somebody invented something? Pelé has already been there. And I think that's remarkable. Winning 3 World Cups, being involved in the World Cup in 18, and then going all the way through his career. It makes you wonder, will anybody ever do that again? It'll be a long time before anybody gets close to that, I think.
Doubt it.
And again, this is the transcendent generations things. These are the markers that he leaves behind. And I know there's debate about how many goals officially he scored over the years, because some of them people can't work out whether they should count or not. But I mean, that in itself's remarkable. When you start to add the numbers up, it's crazy. So yeah, and it's a time, I think, for football. I want to see football honour him in a really decent way. I think again is a at a time where organisational bodies are under scrutiny like never before. It would be absolutely lovely to see something done in his honour that's meaningful, not just lip service.
Steve, you've come suitably dressed tonight for this tribute.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I dug this out the cover. I thought, you know what? I very rarely wear football tops when we're on the show, but I thought, you know, today was a special day. It's very much a sad day, but it's also a day to be proud to be a football supporter. It's a day to be proud to say that you've seen Pelé, not necessarily in the flesh, but on TV, going back to your youth, going back to the 66 World Cup. And I can remember that when he was kicked out of the game. I was only a young lad at the time. And then the iconic World Cup for me, the 1970 World Cup. And when you look back and you think, we're talking about this man as being the greatest footballer that we've ever had. Doesn't kick the ball for 47 years, unless, of course, you count Escape to Victory. But, you know, that's the distance that we're talking about. We're talking about within, 47 years since he kicked the ball. First appeared in the World Cup in 1958 when he was 17-year-old. Played and won, scored 6 goals, scored 1 goal in the 62 World Cup. Got kicked out of the 66 World Cup by an absolutely brutal tackling. And then comes back. It's probably what was at the end, the end of his career. There was talk of him retiring and he wasn't going to be playing in 70. But that 70 World Cup team, as well as Pelé, everyone looks back and everybody focuses. Whenever you talk about the World Cup, they go back to that 70 World Cup team. And it was a special team. It was special at the way they played. It was special with the number of players that they had that all wanted to be the same player, all had a distinct sort of style of play that the manager then had to bring in. And the manager that was going to take the 70 World Cup team ended up getting a sack because he said he wouldn't play all 5 of his superstars that he had. And the manager that came in, Zagallo, said, I'll play them. The first manager was actually kicked out by the by the military junta, believe it or not, and the president. And he said, if you're not going to play these, because he said there was no way you could play it, which effectively was 5 number 10s. They didn't have a striker. They had 5 number 10s. They had 5 players who all wanted to be that elusive number 10. And he found a way of slotting them all in. And we then saw what football was really all about. I look back to 66 and England were used to what Alf Ramsey had, or what was known as Alf's wingless wonders, where we played a certain style, flat back 4, we played with Nobby Stiles sitting in the front, we played with Charlton playing in a midfield holding role, if you like, just in front of Stiles, where he could almost a deep line centre forward. And then you had Ball and Peters, who were supposed to be wingmen, but were actually tucked in. And then you had Hunt and Hurst up front. And that's the style that England had adopted. And yes, it was successful in 66. But in 70, the game had moved on. And we then had a team that just movement right across the pitch, forward and back, sideways, down the wings. They just used every available space. They used the ball. The ball was used to short passing, long passing. They were free to take players on in the midfield, drop a shoulder, etc., etc. Beautiful football, and Pelé was very much part of that. And I think, like I said right at the very beginning, 47 years since he kicked the football, and we're still talking about him as the greatest footballer. What does that say? I say it's because possibly we didn't have TV, but like Muhammad Ali, he was around at a time where, you know, world TV wasn't the great and sport, and specifically wasn't the great exponent that we see now. But these guys, their reputation still went before them, their talent, their skill, and it was very much word of mouth, the talent that you are looking to. And it is sad. He was 82-year-old. And I think he said it very poignantly and very, very, very well when he said he died with grace and died with dignity. And, you know, when someone is suffering, that's probably the best way that they can go. But I think I understand there's a 3-day mourning period in Brazil, and that says an awful lot. I was with a lot of the Brazilian fans when I was over in Dubai a couple of weeks ago, watched the World Cup, one of the World Cup games with a probably what seemed like 3,000 Brazilians all dressed in yellow watching the game, and even those youngsters were still talking about Pelé, you know, because people knew that he wasn't very well, and it was a part of the topic conversation as well as talk about Neymar and all the other superstars that they had. But yeah, very, very sad. But we've got all those memories to look back on. And to just be thankful that we've had an opportunity to see such a great footballer.
Yeah. Mozza, good to hear you're on the mend. I know you've had COVID. You just said there in the chat, like, so glad you're on the mend, and I'm sure Alan's looking after you. Thanks for all your support. Lots of nice messages coming in as well. This is like just one of many. Good evening, matters, friends. Here's looking to a fantastic 23. Do you think Isaac will feature in the cup games? Ian, press conference. I did the review around about 4:00. First time I had a chance to listen to what Eddie had to say, but in essence, he's not going to rush the kid back. He's almost there, but he's not there. So at the end of the day, he's not going to rush him back. But if you listen to the press conference review that I did, it's all on there. But he was asked, is he going to be back for the cup games or the league games? And he said he'll be back when he's ready. So very, very simple. From one South American legend to potentially another, and Miggy Almiron, Keith, has become the Paraguayan Footballer of the Year for 2022, winning it for the third time in his career. He won it previously, of course, in 2017, 2018, and he becomes the Paraguayan player with the most wins of the award alongside Jose Cardoza, who also won 3. This really is the Joe Linton story of this year, isn't it? Because Joe Linton was how on earth have we managed to turn a player that didn't look as if he was worth 40 quid into a 40 million pound player, and now probably an 80 million pound player into that kind of player. And now we've got Almiron, who everyone was saying, well, you all go on these little lucky runs and then it'll come to an end. It's how he comes back after the break. Well, he come back after the break at Leicester and continue to do what he's done. So, yeah, he deserves the plaudits, but he's not going to rest on his laurels, I don't think. I think we're going to see more of this lad's goal-scoring prowess probably over the next few months.
Kid's genius. I mean, Miguel Almiron, he must be, when Newcastle used to be everybody's second favourite team, he must be every non-Newcastle player's favourite footballer, because he plays with the biggest smile beyond anybody. I've never seen a lad run around the football pitch with such a grin on his face. And I think Gamerish summed that up when he told people to vote for him early in the season. He said, vote for Almiron, because it's his world. It means everything to him. And I think the people at Newcastle, the Miggies of the world, the Joe Lintons, I think they all love Almiron. And they're saying, I remember the time when we were hoping we were going to get Paqueta, because they thought if you bring Paqueta in, it'll settle Gamerish down and it'll tie him to the club. The word is that him and Almiron are like brothers. They're supposed to get on famously well. But when you see that lad play, he looks as though he's expressing gratitude all the time. He looks humble. He looks appreciative of everything he gets. And by God, he works for it. And when you saw that goal the other day, you've seen it replayed back over and over. Like, Bruno does some magic, gets the ball, turns, hits a ball across field, comes down, tucked down on his chest, then he passes it, then he runs. And really, he gives the lad a head start. And he takes off, beats the lad, a top fullback, turns him back inside out. And from the minute he come back, it just was like sending a message. You could have sent a fax to somebody to say, look, lads, I'm going to go through that gap. I want to beat you two. I want to play 1-2 Bruno, and then I'm going to make the goalie look silly. And he did. He sort of sent them a postcard first to say, be careful, this is going to happen. It was so obvious where he was going and what he was going to do. But I think he's been like that all season. And for me, there's a lot of people doubted him. You've got to remember this guy survived Steve Bruce. He was a £20 million player that came in, that Rafa rated, and then Bruce couldn't get a tune out of. And you know, he tried and tried and tried. And I think a lot of Newcastle fans would say, you know, he just hasn't got it. And that's something. He'd be like one of them who's going to fall by the wayside. You know, you can name them over the years. Lots and lots of players we've had where you think, well, I just didn't quite do it and showed so much but never got there. But Almiron has got to be in the top 5 forwards in the Premiership this season. And I don't think that's, you know, you can put Haaland in that group. I think he's there. I think he is. You know, you look at Callum Wilson, who's doing great, but Almiron gives you the consistency. He's more injury free. I think the lad is legendary. I think he's gonna get better and better and better. And the reason I think that is because he gets kicked to bits, but he doesn't get injured. He doesn't carry weight. He's like a pencil, and he just, you know, he gets kicked about, but he can hit a ball, he can pick a shot. He scored goals that he's the only player in our squad could score. He scored goals that probably only Bruno would think about taking on. He scored some brilliant goals. But my missus said, she watches the game, she's always my favourite player because he smiles and because he's happy and because everybody just loves him. And I think he's the most likeable lad in our squad. I really do. I think he's the person, when you talked earlier, Steve, yesterday about Pelly, and Mitch both said he's humble. And I think Mitch hit the point where he said, great athletes don't cause controversy. You know, they don't get wrapped up in drug deals, and they don't get wrapped up in gambling or fighting or, you know, abuse or arguments. They just seem to go through their career being everybody's friend. Well, I tell you what, the way this lad handled himself over the Grealish fiasco was just a credit to what a great man he is. And you know, the kid's got big balls and he's got maturity beyond his years because he handled that in a way not many people could. And when he had the chance to say, he could have said so many things. Just, you know, he could have made so many comments that would have got all us lot rolling around in our aisles. And he could have put a pop back at Grealish, but he never did. He just said he's a good player. I've got nothing. He's got no axe to grind, and he just would do these football boots. But we underestimate. He's the all-time great in Paraguay because he's level with the best player, football of the year 3 times. He's still a young'un, you know. He's still a young man. There's a lot more football to come out of Miguel Almiron, and we talk about Diaby's, you know, where they want 60s and 70 millions, and he played down the right. Would he get Miggy's shirt? I don't think so. So, you know, seriously, would Diaby, would Maxi, would they track back like Miggy? No. And I think that's why, I think the reason why Trippier does so well down the right-hand side, why he gets forward, because he's got a bloke with a set of legs that run like a ground, and he'll gallop back and he'll work. And I think when you talk about heroes, you know, I've seen Eddie Howe deserves so much credit for what he's done with Joe Linton. And what he's done, the belief he's given Sean Longstaff, what he's done with Shah. But I tell you what, Miggy has been given his chance, he's been given the confidence, and to me, he's one of the first names on the sheet. And if we didn't have a Miggy, I wonder which right wing we'd get that would track back like him. So whatever fancy wingers we bring in, whatever superstars we bring in this club, don't underestimate what Miggy gives you off the ball and what he gives you in terms of defensive qualities of running back, because I think this lad's an absolute tonic. I think he's an absolute legend of a player. I love him. I couldn't speak either of him.
Yeah. Tom Lynch says, we knew Miggy was a good player under Benitez at the time. He was new to the league and it was taking a bit of time to get used to it. Then Bruce came in and destroyed him. He's got a point, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing we said when Miggy first arrived, and then during the first few years, has been love his attitude, love his energy, but he needs to show some end product. And it's like he stored it all up and he released it all in one go. You know, I don't know how badly he was affected by stuff under Bruce, but it's clear that there was issues there because there was also talk about shipping them out. It's not just the addition of Bruno though. You've got that little triangle on the right hand side: Trippier, Miggy, and Bruno. And I think that's just allowed Miggy to become the player that was always in there. I think the pair of them do things to push Miggy to that next level. I know House talked about simplifying some of the things he was doing on giving goals and things like that. And that goal was exactly that. It was a fantastic 1-2 with him and Bruno. Now, how much of that with them two was the South American mindset and the South American way to play football together? Because Bruno does seem to know where Miggy's going to run to, what he's going to do with the ball, and has the ability to find him. But also then Trippier behind him seems to have such a big influence on him. After one of the goals he scored earlier this season, Trippier had hold of him for about 30 seconds. I don't know what the hell he said to him. But it was like, you know, it was just hammering in that positivity and that motivation. And he's absolutely blossoming out of it. It doesn't seem to end. You think, okay, after the break, how's he going to be? Well, he trots up and puts in a finish like that. So, yeah, he hasn't lost any momentum because of the winter break. He's hit the ground running. And I think it's we'll all benefit. Can you imagine if we had ASM clicking on the other side the same way at the same time? That would be, it would be crazy. Would hammer some teams. And that's what I always like to see is when a player digs it out, toughs out the rough bits, and then reaps some reward, like Gary Speed did, like Warren Barton did. Off the top of my head, there's a couple of examples. And I think, as I say, that little triangle on the right-hand side, the one who's benefited the most out of it seems to be Mickey.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there, Mitch. And Steve, it's just great to see, you know, him hit the ground running again. And like you say, we always knew there was a player in there. And it's taken, you know, Eddie Howe and just making a few adjustments and giving people a bit of confidence to get the best out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when he came, he's £20 million. You know, he came from America, from the MLS. And I think after a few games, people began to think there's a footballer there, but we're not too sure what. We're not too sure whether somebody's made a mistake. Certainly under Bruce, we began to think someone made a mistake because you look at it and you're thinking, is this, you know, he was scoring 12, 15 goals in the US League and he wasn't hitting it. He couldn't even hit a barn door here. And you think, and what's happening? Are the goals bigger in America or what? You know, how come he can score all those goals over there and he kind of put them in here? But his enthusiasm just sort of carried him through, and certainly under Bruce, and the lads are dead right. Yeah, under Bruce, he certainly lost his way, but let's not say too much about that because he wasn't the only one who lost his way under Bruce. There were many other footballers in that squad who were losing their way under Bruce, and then you've got to question why. And I know I'm wearing yellow today. I'm hoping for Norwich's sake that he's not going to end up in Norwich because that would be a shame.
Are they after him, Steve? Are they Norwich after Bruce?
So the story goes. Whether or not it's just paper talk or what, but Delia needs to have a look at herself if she thinks that going for an ex-player in Steve Bruce is the answer.
That would be like a hairdresser picking me and Steve Wraith out for a hair show in Newcastle. You know what I mean? Like, they'll make good models. Like, why? What do people need to do and see before they realise that man's behind the times?
Yeah.
The thing is, though, that the sentimentality there with Steve Bruce, Steve, isn't there? The fact that he captained Norwich in '85 to a win over Sunderland at Wembley. So there is that sentimentality. But Keith's right. You just need to look at what Newcastle fans are saying, what West Brom fans are saying, what Sunderland fans are saying. What, you know, and the list is endless.
Birmingham
fans, Villa fans, Crystal Palace fans, Wigan fans, Huddersfield fans, all of them, they've all said it at some point in time, you know. But getting back to Miggy, I mean, there's something about South American players that can take a tackle. And Miggy keeps pointed it out earlier. The challenges that he gets, and he just bounces back up. It's a bit like Suarez, isn't it? When he came to Liverpool, and he was just getting kicked from pillar to post. But his attitude was, if they're going to kick me, I'm going to kick them back. Miggy's attitude is, if they kick me, I'm going to run past them even quicker. I'm going to score goals past them, etc. And that's what he's done this season. And I think it's interesting. You're talking about that little triangle, and you're talking about Miggy knowing where Bruno's going to play the ball, or is it Bruno knowing where Miggy's going to run? I think there's certainly an element of futsal in there. And Mitch and I talked about it when we were over in Dubai. That South American style of football where they have this ability to put their foot on the ball, roll it, and then move the ball, and it just gives you that extra little second as a striker to get into where you want to be. It gives that hesitation to the defender because he's not sure what you're going to be doing with it, but it also gives you that ability to control the ball in different places. And all of that works well with those two. And Trippier as a captain alongside him just gives him that ability to roam where he needs to roam, but then he can rein him back in. And he's now got that working relationship down that right-hand side where they're working together, they cover each other. And he's got an engine like probably nobody else in the team. I know people go on about Joe Linton and up and down the pitch, but it's very rare you see Miggy sort of puffing and panting with 15 minutes to go like he's blowing out of his backside. It doesn't happen. Miggy just seems to have an engine that allows him to go full 90 minutes. And there have been games where he's been taken off, and I think I take them off because the job's been done. And that's unusual for Newcastle United. It's not something we're used to, seeing a player being taken off and protected because the job's been done. We're 3-0 up and there's 20 minutes to go, and we don't need to worry that we're going to suddenly have a team coming back and turning us into a 4-3 or anything like that, in the way that we used to do to teams back in the Robson days. But it's just great to watch. It's great to see his enthusiasm. And the quality of the goals, absolutely superb. And he deserves being the player of the year again. Absolutely deserves it. I don't think there's anyone around in Paraguay that could lace his boots at the moment. The lad is just playing out of his skin. I just hope that we're going to see it for the rest of the season. And this fantastic run that he's on continues, and that we also start to get goals from other players as well. And that Eddie's got it right, because let's face it, what's really happening is the Premier League are now panicking. The rest of the Premier League are panicking. People are starting to look at us and thinking, these guys are serious contenders. And, if that carries on until April, March, or even into May, it doesn't really bother me. I'm just on this journey. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm just on this journey and just want to see how far it takes us. And if the journey ends, the journey ends. But it's just fabulous to be a Newcastle fan at the moment.
Yeah, no, 100%. Richie says, if Delia appoints Steve Bruce, then it's a recipe for disaster. Very good. Right up my street, that Richie lad. Right up my street. All right, time for one of our regular features. It is Tweet of the Week. I have to start doing these first now because I get so many, and then I have to load the lookalikes on. But Christmas has been and gone, but we still had a few of these left over, some festive tweets. Was going to buy this for Christmas, but it was too dear.
Not quite too dear.
Not quite too dear. I did like this Aretha Franklin's.
Oh, very good.
I like that.
Very good, Ian. Very good.
Ian Hull, clever spinning all that.
He's on the ball again with this one. Warning, this may contain nuts, bolts, screws, sewing needles, knitting needles, scissors, screwdrivers, old coins, and many other sharp or useless objects that have nowhere else to be stored. I like that one, Ian. So good. True. That's what people use tins for these days, of course. This one from Michael Jones. He says, you're tune obsessed when you play this game with kids at Christmas and you can't get "We've got Uno in the middle" out of your head.
Very good.
Excellent. This one from Kev, who I was with today, didn't think much of Luna didn't think much of the Christmas TV listings.
Look at that.
He's seen it all over the floor, and it's. I've met Kev today for. I met Kev today for a cuppa. He also said it's the dog's eating something from the DVLA as well, which didn't go down too well in the house, but looked equally proud and equally like Steve Hasty.
I thought we were on the lookalike, yeah.
Lauren said, just a reminder that the home Chris Rea was actually driving to for Christmas was in fact Middlesbrough. Good point. And this one, for sale, 1 nan bed with 2 pillow cases. Cash and curry only.
Very good.
Jill Towers' reply, and she features quite heavily this week. What a deep sleep you'd have in that bed, like you've been in a coma. I love that bed, by the way. It's really nice. Kayla Chow said, have you ever slept on a waterbed? Jill replied, only with my ex-husband, but we slowly drifted apart. And as you can imagine, I mean, me and Jill have a bit banter backwards and forwards. I couldn't help but select a couple more. Am I the only one whose bucket list is mostly filled with sex-related stuff? Jill replied, remove the word list from your tweet, and I reckon that's nearer the mark. And Jill also found a £20 note outside the supermarket this morning, and realizing that no one saw me pick it up, I put it straight in my pocket. But then I thought to myself, what would Jesus do? So I went inside and I turned it into wine. Last but by no means least, she went, Brian Mayer sounds like a slightly more optimistic version of Brian Kant.
Very
At
good.
Jill Towers, give her a follow if you don't already. She's a cracking lass, and she's got some great tweets. Kind of person that gives you a giggle on a morning, which is what you need. Lee Foster says, once you've seen it, it can't be unseen.
No, it's not.
That's brilliant.
That was doing the rounds.
It's colour, doesn't it?
Yeah, I do like these Facebook names, and I do, and I'm sure like everybody else, you do have to double check that it's real. Thanks to Dan McMahon for sharing this one. Superb. And again, it's a lookalike, Keith.
I haven't started, man. 20-6.
Vintage Newcastle posted this. This is very good. I love Bridges and Greggs. Let's hope he does, ESPN said, all this talk of an A to Messi Ballon d'Or, everyone's forgotten about Miguel Almiron. Very true. Very true.
ESPN.
Exactly. Mickey Wells said, didn't even know Chris Wood was changing nationality. Prime Video Sport having a mayor, and it hasn't even kicked off yet. There he is, Chris Wood, England. Just because he's got a typically English name, maybe that's maybe the reason. But yeah, well spotted from Mickey from Metro. Love this one from Nicola. I've heard Newcastle United's got a new website, www.nufc.co.uk.
Very brilliant.
Excellent. And this one from Ian again. Membership application form for Liverpool Football Club. Name, 2 mistakes allowed. Address. This means what is the name of the street that your house is in and what is your house number? Date of birth. What day does everyone sing happy birthday to you? Age. How many years have they been singing it to you? Mother's name. Mum will not do. Father's name. If known, no swearing, please. Do you have a car? Yes, no. Tick the box. Is it yours? Yes, no. Tick the box. Registration number found on the piece of tin hanging from the bumper bar. Do you have a driver license? Yes, no. Is it yours? Yes, no. Thanks for that, Ian. Very good. Did giggle at that one. I got it as well. This one, Barcode Vicky. Thanks for the inbox this week. She went, the days no one wanted a season ticket, even if they were free. And this was the days of money, Mike Ashley. For those at the game today, remember the person in the seat that's been empty all season, paid €0 to sit there today, enjoy the game. Yeah, God. Seems like a lifetime ago, that, doesn't it? A lifetime. Thanks to Jimmy for this one. He says, just in case Stevie Nicks pops up on Shuffle. Stevie Nicks was doing the rounds this week. Did you know that Stevie Nicks once turned down a marriage proposal from William Shatner? She didn't want to be known as Stevie Shatner Nicks.
I said that on a WhatsApp group.
Thank you, Keith. I did like that one. Stephen Kennedy on Facebook. Don't forget you can post things on Facebook if you're not on Twitter on our NUFC Matters group. If Benny and Bjorn had been called Steve and Dave, the group would have been called Asda. Fascinating that. Fascinating. Never thought of that. Neville Southall says, I've learned a lot about the LGBT community. Everton fans, would it bother you if we had a first player to come out? It wouldn't bother me. Mike said it'd be good if one of them came out as a footballer at the moment. Brilliant reply. Scout humour, that. John Justice Allen, thanks for this one. You went, there's going to be wards full of bitter Mackhams having nervous breakdowns with our first bit of real success. You're not wrong, mate. Although I don't get many Mackhams on my timeline, got to be honest. I don't poke the bear anymore. With West Brom taking 15 to 18 points and Newcastle second in the league, third now, of course, the debate against Steve Bruce being qualified to be a football manager is completely put to bed forever. Something, Christopher, that we have just discussed on this show. I think so say all of us. Sam, half-time thoughts. 1, need to book May off for trophy celebrations. 2, can't wait to see Chris Wood in the Champions League next season. 3, we're mint. Yep, Sam, very true. I think that's how we're all starting to feel at this moment in time. Bit of fun on the timeline from Fun88 after the Leicester game. Reports of James Maddison trying to swap shirts at half-time. And Eddie Howe's turned Newcastle from relegation fodder to top 4 contenders in 6 months. But Ten Hag, spending more than Howe, needs 3 years minimum to implement his process. Our fans need to get a grip. Very true. Very true. Eddie Howe is actually a magician, said John. Amazing when you see that. Amazing. It's true, though, when you see the turnaround. This one, Gary Lineker. What a delightful way to spend Boxing Day, watching your team get smashed by Newcastle in the company of Alan Shearer.
Brilliant.
It goes. Get used to it.
And well done to Colin Wilson. He says, I've just had a 16-1 shot come in called the Two Amigos. How on earth did I pick that one out? I did ask him if he was going to split it with us. I didn't get a satisfactory reply. Stephen Kennedy says, meanwhile, in a typical Sunderland home, Mum, I'm dating our neighbour. He could be a dad. Age isn't an issue, Mum. No, I don't think you understand me. And last one. Remember, Jurgen, the ceiling cat is watching you closely. Brilliantly. Great stuff. Thanks to Zara, as always, for sending her selection. And if you've got any tweets, send them to me, send them to the lads, send them to any of us on Twitter, or stick them on the Facebook page and just search for that NUFC Matters. And we will get them on the show next week. We started off the show with a tribute to Pele, of course. Peter Beardsley has supplied us with a photograph of him and Pele, which John has quickly turned around, stuck on a T-shirt in tribute to Pele. It's a one-off. Peter Beardsley's going to sign it. I've stuck that on Twitter. Let's see how long it takes the trolls to say that we're cashing in on the death of a legend. But it's a nice gesture by Peter Beardsley to do, like, that photograph's never been seen, apparently. Yeah. So Peter's given it to John. John stuck it on a T-shirt. Peter's going to sign the T-shirt. That's the next one for the food bank. Posted it on my Twitter. Get bidden underneath as usual. I'll announce the winner next Friday. And just want a big thanks to George Hayes as well, who, once again, at the death last week, basically bid on the T-shirt, 250 quid into the account for the food bank. Much needed funds over Christmas and New Year period when there was no games, etc. At home. And just want to thank George for that. And George also made a donation to the channel. Much appreciated. And I'm just touching on the membership thing. I've stuck something in the chat. I pinned it to the top. What we're going to do is we've got Steve Howie at the Irish Centre in February. And what I'm going to do is, because a lot of people who've joined the cult membership, which is the £25 one-off fee that we've charged, which we advertise every show. You get something for free. Obviously, each month you get the members draw. But there's a few of you, well, I'm saying few of you, 79 people have joined up as members on YouTube. And be very conscious that we've done nothing for you at all. You just like to support the show, which is great. And I really appreciate that. It helps pay the overheads for StreamYard, etc. So we can do 7 shows a week. But what I'm going to do is with the Steve Howie event, I'm going to give away a pair of tickets each night to the members only. So have a look at the members section if you want to do that. If you're not a member of the cult and you don't want to pay the £25, it's $1.99 to join the membership on the YouTube, which helps us out. But I'm going to give away 2 tickets each night between now and the event. Basically, just going to ask a question on there, pop on and answer the question. You got a chance of winning. The 79 members on there at the moment. Have a look, see which side of it you want to back, and it's an opportunity for you to come to the event. Have a look at it, see how you feel, and we will come to that in due course. Right, lads, next thing we want to talk about is this. Henry Winter put it up on Twitter. We obviously knew because it had been announced that Howard Webb had been appointed as the head referee and officer at the PGMO. But it was this bit that Henry Winter pointed out I wanted to discuss with you, lads. Keith, starting with you. He wants ex-players trained up as referees, including academy players who didn't make the grade. He wants PGMO officials on live TV to explain decision-making and more transparency, accountability, and quality. It's music to football fans' ears, that, I think. I mean, I'm delighted to hear that, and I'd love to see ex-players become referees. How many are keen on doing it, I'm not so sure. But I love the fact that he's talking about referees at least being accountable and coming on and having to explain a decision, because, you know, it's something we've lacked for many, many years. We're left to guess and second guess what the hell has gone on in a game, and some of them are inexplicable.
Before I forget, I've just bid 50 quid for the Beardsley Penny t-shirt.
Oh,
so that,
spot on, mate. No bother.
Hell, what was that?
Bloody hell, Evil Knievel going past Mitch's.
Was that Mitch's? Oh my God.
Aye.
It's the
dickhead with the Lambo.
Oh, it's not Andrew Tate making an escape, is it?
Dickhead with the Lambo. So, footballers, first of all, when I first read it, I thought it's got to be good. And the reason being is, football is a short career when people make their grade. Well, there's an awful lot don't make their grade. And there's, you know, if you look at people that were good footballers who never made it, Mickey Edmondson was on Newcastle's books, had a horrendous injury and never played, never made it. And how many people do we know that's been cracking footballers? How many footballers do we know had really short careers? And the natural expectation is they go into coaching, but we know yourselves that in itself sometimes means people are moving away. But if you start looking at the refereeing of the whole thing, for me, it's wishful thinking in a sense, because I think it's bent. I think the whole VAR videography of football has proved this year that there's a lot wrong with it. If VAR and refereeing off the pitch was straight, Newcastle would be top of the league. It's as simple as that. That's not sour grapes. That's a fact of life. We've lost more than any 8 or 10 points this season. So I have grave doubts that there's still corruptness in Premier League football, and that's just an opinion as a fan. Nobody can challenge us or legally take us on for saying that, because that's my own personal opinion. It's nothing else. But I am allowed to say it because that's what I feel. But if you're going to start doing it, I think if you brought people in who wanted to make a career in football, or people who have made a career and understand how the game goes, I think they'd be better than some of the decisions we've seen this year. So I've got to welcome it. I think Henry Winter was wise to bring it up, because it was a massive point that was maybe in the small print. But, you know, I just don't get a lot of it. I don't get the fact that I watched cup games recently where they didn't have VAR. Why? Why would you spend millions of pounds installing a product like VAR and then have cup games where a company can make millions of pounds and qualify for Europe, but they don't put VAR on? Is that like a light switch? Is that because somebody was on the day off who's having a Christmas holiday? If you've got VAR, and if it works, and if it's good, then use every single opportunity you can. You don't just stop because it's a Carabao Cup. You put VAR on again. And there was so many decisions in that cup where people said, well, there's no VAR. It's ludicrous. We've either got to get used to it and make it work, or we've got to say it's shit, let's get rid of it. It's one or the other. It is that simple. It's either good and it works and we have it, and we all get behind it, and we fix the things that's wrong with it, like who's in charge. I don't get the thing on VAR where a referee, if he makes a decision, VAR generally doesn't go against it. There's a lot of decisions on VAR where if a ref does something, they say, well, VAR won't challenge it. Why? If a bloke's sitting there with a microscopic lens, he's looking down, saying you've got it wrong, he should send some of that referee's right look and say, oh mate, you've got it wrong, stop the game. Or next time the ball goes out, stop the game. So I don't think we've got VAR right in this country, but I am one as a football fan who's dead keen to have people who understand football I mean, how many times have we seen people? I mean, I'll give you one that boils me pee at the minute. Today, Jesse Marsh is come to England, another American getting a job in just like these owners that come in. Now, I would never go to America and tell them how to run baseball or to run American football because I don't know enough about it. But we've got a national sport that we've run for hundreds of years. Why do we need an American to come over and he start to tell us that we need to wage cap all the English football in a style similar to the American wage caps so that it makes people compete? Well, I wonder why he's come up with that. Is that him and Jurgen Klopp come up with that? But the Leeds man just come to a club who, if they'd been took over by a bigger organisation, they'd be saying, we're all right, Jack. So Newcastle win nothing since 1955. We get the takeover. They bring FFP out to stop us competing. And now Jesse Marsh wants a wage cap. For God's sake, I'd love that to have people who know football. And I would like it if managers came into our game from abroad. They signed something to say they're not going to tell us how to run our own game. It's our game. It's not yours. You've come and got a job here. When I hear Jesse Marsh and that, you know what I think? Jesse, do your job. You come to manage your team. You're bottom of the league. You're going to get relegated. Keep them up and then talk. Because it boils my pee. It just really makes me chilled off that people are coming over. Every daft wally is coming in and tells us how to run our own game. They think we're incapable, but we've run it for hundreds of years. It's the best Premier League, the best league in the world. So why do we need people coming in from abroad telling us how to run it? How do we? If wage caps work in America, keep them. We don't want it. We don't want to do it. But why do they keep coming and telling us how to do it? These people, they keep putting VAR people in. I think they're bent. I think there's a lot of people in VAR who are just told to favour Liverpool, just told to favour Man United, just told to favour Chelsea. But when it comes to people like Aston Villa, when it comes to people like Everton or Fulham or Brentford, I don't think they get the same rub of the green. So that's why I think if you brought footballers in who maybe get a lot less than these referees get, or maybe are a lot straighter, I think they might get a result. And I am very sceptical, so I don't see it happening because I think it's bent. But if it does happen, brilliant. I'd love it. But let's fix VAR and let's use VAR for every single football game that goes, not just when it suits.
Yeah, sorry. It's an interesting change. Somebody's made the point there about the Forest game the other night, which, you know, Billy Trait was actually says, if there's any doubt, Howard Webb's in charge of the referees now. Check the goal Forest had disallowed at Old Trafford the other night. It's scandalous. I mean, it's, you know, there's still plenty of work to do. Is it a positive that he's involved, or is it a negative? And is it bent, Mitch, in your mind?
The noises he's making are the right noises, at least. The difficulty of getting former players involved is many of them feel like on a hide into nothing if they go into refereeing. And there's other things they'd rather be doing. You need to incentivize it correctly for it to happen. It's quite right that if you have played the game at a decent level and a decent standard, there's certain things you will understand, like intent, for example. The difference between a bad foul that's an accident and a bad foul with intent is significant. And I don't always think they get that call right when they're saying, is that a yellow or a red? Sometimes you can see players looking for a player. You can see it from a mile away. But sometimes they get that wrong. VAR is not the problem. It's the application thereof and the idiots who are using it. That's the issue we have. We need to be looking at what they're getting right in Germany and what they're getting right in Holland as two examples. There's ways we can apply it better. Every sport that's gone to a decision review system like VAR has had teething problems implementing it. It took the NFL about 8-9 years to get it right. It's taken cricket a long time to get it right because for a long time Indian Cricket Board wouldn't accept the VAR. So you have this strange situation where you would have the DRS rather as they use in cricket for test matches all over the place except for ones involved in India. And as Keith rightly points out, if we're going to go all in with it, we've got to go all in with it. You can't have a situation where you get, a perfectly good goal ruled out in the cup and it isn't allowed to stand because there's no VAR there. If you're playing with VAR, you're playing with VAR. If you're not, you're not. This sort of halfy thing, you can't. It always makes for the that little bit of extra controversy. Because somebody in a cup competition where there's no VAR might lose out on a chance of getting taking a cup home because of something that would be easily picked up on VAR. And I don't think that sits well with me. Also, we can't have the situation that we had in the FA Cup last year, where VAR was used at some of the grounds.
Stupid.
And it's either all or nothing. It's as simple as that. So I think, like I said, it comes back to the application of the technology, not the technology itself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get how you can use VAR to rule somebody offside by, and that's chuff. When actually you look at it and you look at the body position and the foot positions and you say, well, is he really getting an advantage in that situation? Is there really a sporting advantage there just because his body's in a different position to the person next to him? We had VAR pretty much shoot themselves in the foot with our game against Liverpool, and there was even mentioned bringing, using the shadows to help them place their lines. Well, the shadow doesn't tell you where you are. The body, the person tells you where you are. And so there needs to be much more consistency. And I totally agree with having some sort of discussion that is public. Let the fans be privy to the mindset of the process. And then hopefully we'll have fewer problems. Because if a referee's got to stand up and say, this is why I've done this, and I've done it because of X, Y, Z, then maybe we'll understand it better and might walk away and go on, well, okay. Because again, that works really well in rugby. It works really well at the cricket. That you've got this open mic conversation between the officials, and you hear exactly every thought on why that wicket has been given, why that try hasn't been given. And I think the fans get more out of it, and I think we would be happier and more comfortable, even if we get a decision that goes against it. If we can be told, right, I've given this because of this, and this, and then it takes the heat out. But however, we've then got to be cautious, and again, this is why it took the NFL a long time to get it right. How long are those conversations allowed to go on for, and how many times are those conversations going to be had per game? Because initially when the video review system and the NFL was brought in, you were getting games stretching 4.5 hours, and so they had to put a cap on how it was used and when it was used and where it was used, because these discussions were becoming intrusive and breaking the flow of the game. Well, imagine how a 5-minute discussion between referee and VAR official just absolutely ruining the flow of the game if there's one or two of them per half. So I think it's something that we kind of have to bear with, because I think they will get it right eventually. But I still don't understand how the so-called biggest league in the world can get it so wrong sometimes, when the Dutch and the Germans and the Italians, to a lesser extent, seem to be making much less drama out of it and applying it much better than we are.
Yeah, Steve, it's it's something which really should be so easy. Implementing change at the top is vital, because it's a massive league, a lot of money in the Premier League, the best league in the world, etc. But it's not the best league in the world if decisions are going begging like the one that we had against Liverpool, which ruled out a perfectly good goal by Isaac.
That's right. Yep, absolutely right. And the lads are right. Well, it'll be really interesting to hear a referee coming out after a game and then trying to justify the decision he's made. Yeah, and that would be the first thing. And then when he gets shown it on TV, he gets shown the replay, and then what does he do? Is it like sort of Oh, right. And I'll stick by my decision. I'll stick by, even though the evidence is going to show that he was totally wrong. That's going to be an interesting little aside. You talk about the money that's splashing around in the football. Now, let's go back to the original thing that Webb said, which was he wanted to get ex-players to come in. He wanted to get players, people who played the game come in, start to train as referees. I can just imagine it. Can you see? You've got Alan Shearer, for example. Comes to the end of his career and you go, Alan, we'll give you an opportunity here. What you can be is you can be a pundit on TV and you can sit there in the studio and you can get £450,000 a year plus and you can talk about football and you can talk about what you're seeing. Or you can become a referee and you'll start at the bottom and you'll be in the counties league and you'll be getting 40 quid a game. That's where you'll start. Okay. And then in about 10 years' time, you'll drift through the league and eventually, if you're lucky and you're one of the top 30, you'll get taken on by the Premier League and you'll get a salary and you'll get between £38,000 and £42,000 a year. And you'll get less than that. You'll get £1,150 a game. So are you up for it, Alan? He's going to go, no, definitely not. And he's not going to be the only one who's going to say that. It's just the money swishing around, but they'll not spend it on the training, they'll not spend it on the officials. I mean, the very fact that a referee gets £1,100 a game, a referee is going to get £38,000 salary per annum, while the players are getting that for half a week. You know, this is the conundrum, that the first conundrum that you're going to have. And this is, if Howard Webb thinks that he can manage to bring that, he's going to have to also start to look at right at the very beginning, right at the grassroots. And what sort of protection is he going to give to referees? What sort of protection is he going to give to people who are willing to put their neck on the line in a non-league environment and be a referee and take the abuse they get, not just from parents and not just from people on the touchline and not just from the players, but from all of that, and then still expect them to then carry on for years and years? It takes an awful thick skin to be able to manage to get all of that. And I'm surprised that we still even have people willing to referee when you hear of some of the situations to get involved in and some of the abuse that they get, especially in the lower divisions. It does take a thick skin, absolutely. But I think what the lads have hit the nail on the head when they talk about the VAR situations. It would be probably very enriching. And what would be interesting is if the referees did come out after a game and spoke about the decision, I wonder if that would have an impact on the VAR decisions that we then get. Because once you start to get the referees talking about it, then we'd have to have the VAR guy to come in and talk about his decision. Because the first thing the referee's going to say, well, I changed my mind because of him. You know, so let him tell you. Don't expect me to explain why I changed my mind. Let him come in. So then we'll have two of them round the panel talking about it. And what's that? I suppose that's just going to extend the show by another 15 or 20 minutes on Match of the Day, isn't it? You know, but these are the sort of things, and it's. I think somebody said it right at the beginning. I think it was you, Steve, said, you know, that this is. It might have been Mitch. This is Howard Webb coming on and saying all the good stuff, but in reality, it'll just carry on as before. There'll be no change. He'll implement some minor adjustments, and he'll tweak and, you know, tip the oil on where it's a little bit rusty and where the bolts need tightening or loosening. But apart from that, it'll carry on as before. There'll be no change. I was there in the Premier League meetings with supporters quite a few seasons ago now with Lee Marshall from Newcastle, where the head of the PGMOL came in, and I've mentioned it on here before, came in and explained some of the changes that were being made to the offsides and things like that. And it was just him. He ran the show. It was his decision. Unfortunately, that's the way that the referees have become. And anyone has listened to Mark Halsey talking about the PGMOL and the way that the organisation has performed. You're always going to have question marks over what you've witnessed. But I just don't think there'll be any change. I think somebody mentioned there about Kalina. Some of the refereeing wasn't that good in the World Cup. You know, that everybody, you know, at the end of the day, people turned around and said they let the game flow and stuff like that. But there were some stupid decisions as well, and that's always going to be part and parcel of the game. So,
Yeah, no, of course it is. It's an interesting conversation, and we've got plenty more to get through in the next hour. Over 473 watching tonight on the 30th of the December. Incredible, really. Thanks so much. And I've seen, as I say, all the positive messages. I've stuck them all on screen. Thanks for everybody's positive messages. It's been a great year with the show. We've loved it. People asking as well, how far are we away from 50k subscribers? Well, latest count 49,571. We've pulled in another 251 subscribers this month, which is incredible. So we are building slowly towards that 50,000 subscribers. So 429 away. That's how far we are away. I don't think we'll quite make it at the start, but maybe by the end of January, keep up that rate. It'll be great to have you on. Okay, we're gonna have a quick ad break so the lads can go and get a quick drink or whatever. We'll be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors. First off, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. You can find them at thegohd.com. And thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces. They are handmade in Cumbria, and you can find more information out on their website, mrvickies.co.uk. And if you want to order any, email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Big thanks to Blowhole Brewery, a new beer made on Tyneside. The cans are all designed in the colours of Newcastle United's strips from days gone by. Black and white there, the purple and blue, and the good old-fashioned blue from the Entertainers' days. But get more information on the Blowhole Brewery range, such as Geordie Juice, from blowholebrewery.co.uk. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things and video side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who do our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the show, then all you need to do is click the subscribe button below. You can also hit the thumb up, which does us a favor, by liking the video, and click share to your social media, such as Twitter and Facebook. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and the rest. And if you want to contribute to the show, use the QR code. It takes you straight to the membership pack and you can join the channel. What do you get for your membership pack? You get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw. You can also make a donation by hitting the $sign in the chat tonight. We also give you something for free if you subscribe to the show. To get your car sticker, email john@nufcmatters.com and he will post you one out. We also support the food bank on this show. And if you want to make a virtual donation to the food bank, then go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. On our website, we've got lots of t-shirts, cups, pens, you name it, memorabilia, if you want to buy it and support the show. For Christmas, we have the Bruno Christmas jumper, which is selling rather well. And we'll have the bobble hats, Play Like Almiron, Bruno's Magic, and Bruno's 39 and Joe Linton's J7. Get yourself to nufcmatters.com to buy them today. If you want to buy people a ticket for one of our events next year, we've got an evening with Steve Howie, which is Friday the 24th of February at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are £50 from nufcmatters.com or newcastlelegends.com. And you can also buy them on voucher before Christmas. Get somebody a bargain and a nice Christmas present. Peter Beardsley is on the 10th of February at St. Dom's Catholic Club in Newcastle. Tickets available direct from the venue. And for this one, Friday the 2nd of June next year at the Grand Hotel in Gosforth, 6:30 start. An evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark and John Beresford. To book tickets, contact Natalie at healandtour.org.uk or visit their website healandtour.org.uk/events. If you're looking for a Christmas present and people like a book, then get yourself NME from the Bender Squad to the Gremlins, or the last remaining copies of Black or White, No Grey Areas, Lee Clark's autobiography, and you can get them from www.badboysbooks.net. See, some great Christmas ideas for 2023 there. Yeah, I haven't I haven't had time to do the new adverts, but because I've been celebrating Christmas. If you have got a bit of time and you want to catch up with a few of the programs we've done some cracking shows, and this one from last night was brilliant. Malcolm MacDonald, the England years with John Gibson, where they chatted about Malcolm's England career. Watch that back. Fantastic. And if you didn't get a chance as well, Frank Clark and John Gibson, two-parter, 45 minutes shows. I stuck them up the other night. Brilliant to watch. It was down at the Surf Cafe just before Christmas. John from QTech went down, videoed them for us and stuck them on the channel, and they were brilliant to watch. So if you're into interviews with ex-players, sit and watch those Frank Clark ones. What a legend that guy was, and some great stuff there from Gibbo as usual. No live show tomorrow. Obviously, it's New Year's Eve or on New Year's Day, but I have recorded 2 shows. Me and the lads from Geordie's Here, Geordie's There. We did this one, our favourite strips, which was a Christmas special. So we talk about our favourite NUFC strips. So that's on at 10 o'clock in the morning, something to get your teeth into before you go to watch Newcastle play. And on New Year's Day, Gibbo's top 10 sporting legends that he has met. And just a little flavour of some of the faces there. Talks about Glenn McCrory, talks about Bjorn Borg. Even manages to get a story in about the Likely lads as well. So a great show. Gibbo talking about the top 10 sporting stars that he's met and interviewed in his journalistic career. That one is on New Year's Day. I'll be back live again. Normal service resumed on Monday. So I look forward to seeing you all then with the fans forum. There was a quick question which I saved there for Mitch, which was something to do with Manchester United. Yeah, there it was. Bear with us 2 seconds. It was from John. Yeah, I see Saudi Tourism have pulled the plug last minute on the Man United shirt sponsorship. Any thoughts, Mitch?
Tied in with the Ronaldo situation, and you can see why there must be still a degree of attraction to making some sort of marquee signing, because that's what boosts profile in this region every time. And so, and I think it's well done to Eddie Howe and everybody at the club, because I'm quite convinced there's still a desire from within the Saudi side of things to see a marquee signing. And I think if there was one that would be the right sort of mix to bring into the club, very much so. But I think, again, shows how much power certain players can have at times. Because I'm quite sure the Saudi tourism deal wouldn't be a small one. Also, very interesting, had it happened, I'd bet there'd have been a lot less furore than what we would traditionally get now, had it gone through. Bearing in mind, Saudi Telecom's sponsorship with Man United was one of the longest standing sponsorships in the Premier League. It's very much a Saudi way of doing things, or not even a Saudi way of doing it, it's a regional way of doing things. Having big names to back your brand in this region, and it does work. There's no doubt about that.
Would they just want anyone there? Would they just want a big name? Is it?
Yeah.
Is that
somebody at that level?
Does that have to be a Neymar, for example, and does like a Depay, not be big enough, or would they both quantify?
I would say you're probably looking more at the Neymar.
I heard at the start that they were hitting for him, but and you think for all the reasons, it's not part of what we're building up. But then you see them looking at people like Depay, and you think, would he be the trophy signing that they want? But you don't know whether that name's big enough, do you? And you just...
I think the difference again, you've got to look at how football support works in this region. The support players and the support the big teams that see in the telly week in, week out.
Yeah.
So it would make a noise out here if we signed someone from Barcelona.
Yeah.
Because there is interest in Barcelona here.
Yeah.
It would make waves out here if we signed someone from Real Madrid, because there's strong interest in Real Madrid out here.
Yeah.
So I think that would be one kind of signing that would make heads turn in the Middle East. However, if you want maximum impact, it would need to be a Neymar, Messi, Ronaldo level name to get that max impact from this region. Because that really would sell more shirts, it would get more names on the backs of shirts. The casual fan and the fan who likes to jump on a winning horse out here. I've again said this before, the year Barcelona, the year Bayern Munich played Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League final. I've never seen more Dortmund shirts in Dubai before or since. But that week they were there everywhere. You couldn't move for them, and that's how it works here. And I think we have to, as a fan base, this feeds into the discussions I've seen on Twitter about this certain types of fan in inverted commas and Johnny come latelys, where that's part and parcel of getting bigger. We can't be parochial about it all the time. We just have to accept anybody who wants to come along and join in and be part of it. It's gonna happen over time. It's gonna happen. Get used to it, and if you don't like it, you're gonna be stuck in the past. I think it's something we'll have to embrace and understand that it comes as part of the price on the ticket, whether you like it or not. And it's these kind of, it's that sort of transient stroke casual football fan that you get quite a lot in the Gulf, who signings like this and deals like that are very much made to attract.
I think it's brilliant to hear, because you live in the Gulf and we don't, and it's great to understand. It's great to listen to you. And when you talk about people in the Gulf, I don't challenge it. I just think Mitch is right. Mitch knows what he's talking about. When I think of people back home, people watching this show, I think it's all about balance. And I'm not being weak in saying that, but I think you've got to balance the desire for PIF, who I'm told, at the start offered Pogba and Neymar to Eddie Howe, and he turned it down. And that's the kind of ambitions they've got, and that is the kind of trophy signs you talk about, major signings. But it's interesting because you just said something really striking there, that signing a Barcelona player and a Real Madrid player would make an impact. And I can see that. I can feel it listening to you. I buy what you say. And as a Newcastle fan, not because I'm unambitious, because I love the project we're building. I love the fact that Eddie Howe's in charge. His right-hand man's all over everything. And he's got players like Almiron playing like £80 million players rather than £20 million flops. So then I drop back and I say, how do you get that balance? And for me, I'm just an ordinary fan thinking, how would you do that? How would you get a Barcelona player and a Real Madrid player in January that would whet the appetites of all those fans we desperately need for revenue purposes, for FEPP? We need all that revenue to come from the Middle East. It's untapped area. There's not a team in Saudi Arabia in the Premier. It's arrived now. And I'm not a bottler, but I'm a realist. I think if we've got Depay, who's gettable out of Barcelona, and if we've got Farland Mendy out of Real Madrid. I was talking to Dougie Morris earlier, who was watching a short night, and he said, who's his Farland Mendy? I said, well, he's been injured, but he's a position we're looking at. He's a fullback, but he was listed as the top fullback, like on the planet once. You know what I mean? He's at Madrid, and he came out of Lyon for 50 million. You know what I mean? Proper fullback. But the reckon his injuries behind him, and they think Newcastle. It's been reported here Newcastle's made a proper bid for him, and I just wonder whether that would tick two boxes, because all of us back home who want to see Eddie build it up know Depay would make an impact on our team, and we also know that the top fullback that them coaches wanted would add to us as well. So I wonder whether there's a balance of getting a Barcelona and Real Madrid player, but not a Neymar and a Ronaldo. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if there's a happy medium that keeps our coaches on side. And you've hit a great point, Neil. You've made a magical point that it's good to see that Eddie Howe has the clout to stop signings coming he doesn't want. It's a great point. And I think the owners and the coaches are intelligent enough to synergise and work together to make sure we get the place that keeps both the Middle East, you fans, the coaches, and the Newcastle fans in England happy. That's what I think. I think we'll come up with something that works for all. But I just wonder whether that's the kind of thing that would satisfy everybody. Maybe I'm a dreamer.
I think that's an interesting, point you make to say, is this a compromise where it ticks both boxes, keeps everybody interested and happy? Because I'm quite sure, and this isn't a criticism of PIF, by the way. I just know what the mindset is, and I know how keen they are to do things like this. And I feel like they would be signing players for a weak-willed manager and thinking, well, we're giving you this player. This is a world-class player. We're going to give you him, and it's generosity and keenness and enthusiasm and everything. But it
comes with expectancy. With expectancy.
But it means we're operating in a much more focused fashion, and the benefits are there to be seen because of what Eddie Howe's done with the entire squad.
Yeah. Good point.
Any thoughts?
Me? I do actually. Yeah, I get what Mitch is saying, but I look at the Barcelona team and I think, who would you take? Who would be available? Who would be the superstar that you would go for? And then you look, and then you take the Eddie Howe position, and you go, I would say we'll buy a superstar for the sake of buying a superstar that I then have to fit into my team, or do I buy someone that I know will fit into my team? Someone who I just don't want a superstar and say then right now slot them in. I want a superstar that will slot in. You know what I mean? So you start to look at position, then you think, right, well, if it's a defensive holding midfielder, do you go for De Jong, who didn't want to go to Man United? But if the money was there and the offer was right, is that the sort of player? Or do you go for someone like Gavi or Pedri at Barcelona? The up-and-coming young superstars. Do you go that direction? Then you look at Atletico Madrid and you look at Felix and you go, well, is João Felix is going to be available? He wants away from Madrid. Madrid want him. Atletico want him away because they can't afford him. He's had a falling out with Simeone. But I understand from all the soundings that they're saying they want a guarantee of whatever the fee is, well over 100 million. But they also want people to take him now to get him off their books on loan, and they want an £8 million fee up front to take him on loan. So then you start to get into the realms of strange deals and complications in the transfer fee. You also have to look at Newcastle United in terms of what Eddie Howe hammered just earlier this morning at his press conference, which is FFP. We do something now that could jeopardise us. I think and Mark Byers asked, who do you think we'll get? I think what we're probably going to get is people to replace people in the squad. I don't think we're going to get someone that is naturally a superstar, but I think what we'll get is perhaps a young up-and-coming player to replace the likes of a Fraser, perhaps a Matt Ritchie. Who knows? I don't think it'll happen, but there was whispers about Lascelles at the end of the season, but would it be Lascelles? His big issue, he's going to have to replace Shelvey. Now, Shelvey's not in the team in the minute and hasn't been in the team for the last 12 weeks or something like that. He's only played 3 games, I think, all season, something ridiculous. But he's going to have to look and say, right, well, if I get an injury to my central midfield too, the holding midfield, if I lose Willock or if I lose Longstaff or if I lose Bruno, and that's the sort of thing that he's going to fit in, because he's looking at his squad and thinking, well, who can slot in and replace them? Because let's face it, we saw in the cup game when he played in the friendly game, rather, that we had just a couple of weeks ago, we played okay, but those players weren't the players that that are going to continue to keep the season ignited if one of those 3 that I mentioned gets dropped out. So it's very much this is the difficulty that Eddie Howe's going to have. Does he stick or does he twist? To me, it sounded like he's more than likely going to stick than twist at the moment.
Yeah, I got that impression this morning when he did the press. Well, this afternoon when he did the press conference, that he just keeps his cards close to his chest. And like I said on the Eddie Howe press conference review show that I did, just ignore the papers. For God's sake, ignore the papers. We will talk about it on here. We will talk about what's in the papers. But I don't think any of us will be speaking with any experience as to who Newcastle are going to sign. We can talk about who we want to sign, but genuinely, nobody knows. And that's the great thing about the current regime. Who
are the up and coming superstars that Mitch is thinking? You know, who are the up and coming superstars in world football, and who are the current superstars in world football of an age that we think that would excite the Saudi Arabian owners to bring to Newcastle United? If you take out Neymar and you take out Mbappe and you take out Messi, there's not that many that really ignite in a worldwide situation, because we've hit that wall, haven't we, in terms of superstars? You know, because it's been dominated with them plus Ronaldo for the last sort of 6, 7, 8, 10 seasons.
But don't underestimate, Steve, that it's harder because of the inactivity we've had for 14 years, where we haven't competed, where our FFP position is so poor. The first thing we've got to realise, Newcastle fans, Eddie Howe's not going to come on the transmission she's done and say, I tell you what, if hell freezes over, I'm going to spend 60 million on an attacking number 10 in the season, and I'm going to make sure whatever happens, I'm going to get a ball-winning midfield player number 4, or number 6, who's going to get straight. He's not going to do that, so he's always going to preach FFP. But if the right player comes available at the right price, people are going to move. Mitch will tell you that. That's a fact of life. Sean Penman will tell you that when the right player comes to do, and that's what they did when Wilson got injured with Isa. That all said, if you look at what's happened in the football, there's 2 players who Newcastle were allegedly in for. Look at Modric, and he singled out he wanted to go to Arsenal, but we lost him. It didn't matter how you put it. Arsenal bid 40 plus 20, and they turned it down, and then they've done a deal. So Modric is going to Arsenal. If you look at Gakpo, Newcastle was said to be interested, and he's got Liverpool for 37 million. And you look at him, look at the quality of him, look at how we could use players like that. It seems to be a good buy to buy a Dutch international that did well at the World Cup for 37 million. But then look past that. Look at the Ashworth model. The Ashworth model is to, instead of going for Caicedo for 60, 70, 80 million and people like that, the Ashworth model seems to be, let's buy them before they land in the UK. Let's go and get players that haven't made it big in England, and let's get them before they do it. So we went after Perrone. We went after Perrone, the Argentinian, who looks an unbelievable talent. 8 million. Man City's got him this week. Newcastle's supposed to have Christian Mercedes over to do the deal a month ago, and he's gone to Man City. That shows it's not easy to buy big players. It's not easy to buy young ones. Then we looked after Santos. We were supposed to get Santos from Brazil. Chelsea's got him. So this is, and what it is we can get frustrated. We're not going to win every player. But what it's telling us is when you get into the echelons of the top end and you look for the next star coming out of Brazil or Argentina or Holland or even Denmark, you're going to have Man United, you're going to have Liverpool, you're going to have Arsenal. They're going to be crawling all over these people. And they're going to have a Silverstone like we've got and an Ashworth like we've got. They've all got all these people in the coaching positions crawling all over these things. And people come online and they say on Twitter, why doesn't Newcastle keep their mouth shut? If Perrone's only 8 million and Santos is only 12 million, why don't Newcastle just go and bust the deal before they say anything? They don't say anything. It's not Newcastle saying it, it's the agents.
I just had this discussion in the gym this morning with somebody who keeps going, why don't they keep their mouth shut? And going, it's not, they're not bloody opening their mouth, man.
But a lot of people don't realise it's not. What they say. They say to Perrone in Argentina, the Newcastle, the first people, it's probably Ashworth because he brought McAllister over, he knows people. So he brings Perrone, he says, right, we'll do a deal for you. What do you want? 8 million. Okay, it's our deal. We're going places. We're third in the league. We're going to do something. And then the agent thinks, I wonder if I can get 8 plus 2. 8 for them, 2 for me. And so he gets in touch with Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and says, Newcastle's going to buy this kid for 8 million. Have a look at these videos. And then all of a sudden, you've got competition. And the word of an agent is worth dog shit. It's worth absolutely nothing. And it's these people that release it. It's not Newcastle. Newcastle frustrate the hell to say, well, we never put that story out. But that's the way it goes. And I spoke to somebody who was involved in some transfers 2 weeks ago, and he said, they mentioned a player, and I said, he looks like a proper player. He says, he is good, but the fear is they just use Newcastle to get the fee up. And if you put Newcastle on something, it immediately gets the big six in England on, and it also gets people like PSG, who aren't lovers of Saudi. It gets them on. You've seen it, man. It's happened. It's happened with all these players. Newcastle are trying the bollocks off to get young people in before they've made the name over here, and they also are looking at people who go straight to the side. My good feeling is if they buy people that go straight to the side, it'll be people from abroad or people coming out of contract, like a Tielemans kind of player or a Thuram kind of player who's getting the edge of the contract. You buy for the right money. But I don't see Newcastle paying 120 million, under FFP. 2 years' time, yeah. But right now, I see us bringing people from abroad. They're probably working on a Bruno kind of player, somebody that's just behind the thing and just say, right, go and get it. But I reckon Newcastle have worked on 3 or 4 deals like Botman and Bruno, same kind of money, 30 plus million, who they didn't get. They just fell down. And I think Gakpo and people like that will be in that remit. But it's now frustrating because we're struggling with the kids. We're apparently going to get this Chris Rigg out of Sunderland because he's a Newcastle supporter. I hope we do. Because paid 3.5 million. We've got Kowal coming, but I would hope there's another couple of more youngs coming from there. I hope these. But the agents are touting these people around, and the agents don't give a shit who they go to. And as soon as they mention Newcastle, you've heard of the Newcastle premium. There's people there saying, something like Man City, £8 million for an Argentinian. They see the videos, he looks at the dog's bollocks. 8 million? Come on, it's petty cash.
Eddie Howe keeps mentioning it.
It's like a petrol chit.
He keeps mentioning it in these press conferences. FFP. What we're spending this window means we can't spend as much in the summer. Comes down to what Keith said. We're going full circle now. At the end of the day, the downside of Mike Ashley's, the biggest downside of Mike Ashley running the club the way he did was that it prevents us being able to spend big like other clubs because the profitability behind the scenes off the pitch hasn't been big enough, hasn't been good enough. We're still now on a growing curve, and we've got a long way to go before we can catch up with the likes of Man City and Manchester United in particular on that scale, Liverpool as well. But ultimately, we will get there. It'll take time, but they need to be shrewd. And Newcastle won't get held to ransom either by agents. So what Keith's saying about agents, Mozza says, I think Keith's views on agents is supported by the fact that Steve Bruce's agent is still getting them jobs. And Mark, very, very nice of you. This show is so much better and interesting, very professional and brilliant content, guys. Well done. Thank you, Mark. You look like a new name. A new name in the chat there.
Steve, what you can also see is that with the success on the pitch will come the commercial change, and the commercial boost, which then helps your FFP. So we're doing well in the cup, we're doing well in the league. We get into the Champions League, then all of a sudden the bigger commercial deals kick in. Your financial fair play doesn't become the problem, and then you're on that treadmill, and it's an upper treadmill, not the one that was going down under Mike Ashley.
Yeah.
And Anthony just said something really pertinent. We're not supposed to be third in the league at the minute. We're way ahead of schedule, and when you get ahead of schedule, whether it's in your job or whether it's if you fall in love with someone, you think they're great. The next thing you think of is engagement ring. Maybe it's too early. Or then you think they get married. Maybe it's too early. But it's what comes next. And if you start winning stuff, you get the third, you start thinking we're coming first. And we're not supposed to be where we are now. So we naturally are thinking, what else can we do? And who else can we buy? So the tip, like we all fans, and most fans will say, let's go for him. And there's no grasp that if you buy someone that was maxed out in England, if you buy a player that's reached his peak in England and he's 50, 60 million, that fee's only going downwards. There's not a lot of people for 50, 60 million's worth 100 million. They're probably at the top end of the money. And if you bought a Grealish, don't tell me the Grealish is worth 100 million now. Because honestly, I seriously wouldn't give 50 million for the lad. even though he's a good footballer. So what you've got to do, so you don't foul a FFP, you've got to make sure that you don't buy a pup. And a pup comes in two ways: overpriced where he drops in value, or where he comes in pisses off the dressing room. He goes in and everybody says, "Why is he getting double what I'm getting?" And that's what Newcastle's got to avoid at all costs.
I'm going to have to get through quite a bit in this last 25 minutes, just because the conversations have been great, as usual, because we've all had a week off. That's what happens. Mark Ritchie says, I'm not that envious about Liverpool getting Gakpo. To me, it's like an admission that they dropped the bollock on Nunes. Let's just get it right instead of buying the player of the moment. Well said, mate. Really good point. Being ahead of schedule gives us time to breathe. The tune will definitely not buy in haste. You're right. Don, you're right. $1.99 a month. You can become a member. Thanks for that, mate. And Dunnell says, success on the pitch, including trophies, will improve our revenue streams. Hence, the financial fair play problem eases. We're living the dream a lot earlier than I thought, and it's only going to get better. Exactly, Anthony. Just sit back and enjoy it. And Ray says, I'd just like to thank everybody at NUFC Matters for the hard work and excellent content this year. Thanks for everything. Here's to bigger and better things in the coming year. Thanks very much as the Bugatti gets warmed up again outside.
Lambo boy.
We'll go to Steve. We'll go to the part of the show which we now just call Steve Hasty. To be honest, people were full of Christmas spirit. They've left you alone this week, Steve. But apart from this one, which has probably been the most controversial issue this week on Twitter, Steve Wraith, shame on Steve Hasty for trying to snatch a Toon player's shirt. It was caught by a young'un after the win at Leicester. Good on Stu Penman for intervening and wrestling with back of Steve. I just want to say that this was not Steve Hasty and not Stu Penman.
No.
I'm glad to say that the young lad did get his top. So let's just put that to rest instead of looking like idiots on Twitter, please. Which, that's all that does.
Just shows you what the wrong photograph is just a moment in time, Steve. And
exactly.
Everything
like this one.
What was happening wasn't like that one. Yes, that's a moment in time.
Very good, Steve. Very good. Very Gabrielle there.
Yeah.
And this one, couldn't forget our Mr. Hasty celebrating the new year.
Yeah, mate.
That must have been last year. This one from Sam, just seen Steve Hasty on the bus.
Fucking mad him.
And Stephen Kennedy, a Steve Hasty tree.
Oh, just all wildlife now, isn't it?
And one from John. No bad dogs, the Woodhouse way, triple lookalike, Barbara, her dog, and Hasty.
Even she looks like him.
Cards marked, yeah. There's some cards getting marked, I tell you.
Thanks to John.
My card's knackered, son.
Happy Christmas and Happy New Year to Albert, who said, back in Saudi, Mitch was asked to go to the fancy dresses. Ethel Merman, obviously misheard. Don't worry, I was his next victim. Christmas is over. Back to the gym for Steve Wraith.
I got it as well.
Look at the bloody hair. This one as well from Albert, looking for Goofy. Very good. Very good. Me and Keith again featured. Is this a lookalike to Stephen? And I like this one actually. Jimmy Wilson says, lookalike he made. I always wondered what happened to the creepy banjo kid from the movie Deliverance. Became president of the United States. Very good, that. Louis Van Gaal and Doctor Who from Rita.
Good one.
The Doctor Who monster, yes. This one, brilliant. Yeah, very, very good. Did like that one.
Rita Oxley.
And Rita did stick the one of the dog ones in as well. So thanks Rita for that. Tim Cairns, Super the darts player, and Keith Patterson. This one as well from Tim. An imposter on Sir Keith's Google. However, there's a resemblance of 3-1 Penman.
3-1 Penman.
And I was sent this one as well. I can't remember who sent us this one. That's pretty good. Yeah, Jill Towers featuring there again. It's the Jill Towers show this week. Sean Longstaff.
Aye.
I'm not sure. Is he Matthew Corbett? Sean Longstaff.
Yeah. Or Suki. One of the two. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, Andy. I think we all were squinting through eyes at that one. Like I can see a slight resemblance. I'm being polite because it's Christmas. I think Gordon Strachan and Corey's Chesney. That's a great one.
Quality, that. Quality.
Very young Chesney there. Ali McCoist and Subo. This is from Tom Dixon. Brilliant, mate. And Cilla Black and Stuart McCall. Very good, Tom.
Very good.
Very good.
Thanks, mate. This one, Mbappe and Reece Ford.
Yeah. Who's Reece Ford, by the way?
I have no idea. But it's the kid on the left. John sent us this one. The missus says this is a lookalike. It's the stunt man off Home Alone.
Does he look like Steve Hasty?
Looks like John.
Like John.
All right.
He's trying to get away from the Michael Barrymore comparison, you see, before we see him tomorrow. Jill put this one in as well. The young ones and the Sussexes.
That's brilliant, that.
Excellent, that. Sir, I could not help but notice a similarity between two young social inadequates and two members of the cast of a 1980s BBC comedy. Are the Sussexes planning to relaunch this series for the transatlantic fan base? Time will tell. Nicholas Langston. Very good.
Very good.
This one, Lemmy from Motorhead.
Oh
Jesus.
Banana.
Yeah, but can you not see it in the middle there?
Well, can
It's like the cross between Bob Marley with long hair, Jesus, and Lemmy.
Charles Manson, that.
Charles Manson.
Aye.
Bloody hell. Depends which way you're looking at the banana, I guess. But anyway, spent too much time on that. Merry Christmas, Tim. This is from Connor to me. Love your work. I've been known to sit down on karaoke, but my favourite tune is probably Tomorrow.
That's brilliant, that.
That's a good one, that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Didn't win.
Got the beat.
Tommy Lee Jones in Under Siege and Thomas Frank from Lee.
Quite good.
Yes, very clever.
There's better ones than that, and I mean, that was quite good. Daddy Al Ramayan said, I realised that the lookalike section of the three Amigos is about gorgeous blondes, but has War Sven secretly brought Scarlett Johansson to the tune? Very good.
Very attractive. Well done.
Very good lookalike.
Yeah.
Steve Wraith doing a bit of moonlighting in the sky, says Kenny Ransom.
Who's that? Man. That's a ringer, that.
That was too old.
That's a ringer.
His beard's a mess as well.
He's a double. The eyes are perfect.
Tune tipster, Joe, waiting for his accumulator. Had that one a few times. Andrew Tate in the news, but he's been locked up now.
Wow. Jill Towers is getting in, she, this week.
She is. This honestly, I've not been stalking her. She's just every day it's come up on my timeline. Matthew Stanger, this is great. Can't believe Wallace from The Wire now owns Bournemouth.
Brilliant.
Very good. Okay, here's the top three. Daz from Loaded and Tyrone from Coronation.
Daz from Loaded. Oh, no, it was brilliant.
That's a number three. Sean Wade.
There's got to be a dog in here.
Sean Wade, this was great. He compares himself to Jim Royal on Boxing Day. If anybody's watched Ricky Gervais's latest thing, Afterlife, he also looks like the guy on Afterlife, the guy who lives by himself, who is a hoarder.
Oh, yes.
But we'll give him that one for the day.
Has the dog won the gold prize today?
No, this is number one this week. This is brilliant. Sal Solo from 80s band Classic Nouveau and John Joe Shelby.
Yes.
That's good.
Brilliant. William King, you are the winner this week. Thank you for sending it in. Some really good lookalikes this week. Don't forget, you've got a lookalike, especially some dogs. We're a bit short.
You've got a dog with grey hair. Just
send it in, and we'll have a look and stick them on. And I know a couple of you really love this music, so we're going to go with this one next. The day I'm at where I ask you to send in photographs of you meeting Newcastle United players or managers or past or present, whatever. Slightly different from Tim Cairns this week. He sent us this on Instagram. He says, back in 1989, we were the first members of the public to have a wedding at St. James's Park. Cliff Anderson, who's a mutual friend of ours, was there as well. So I just thought this was a really good one. Look at that. Not the greatest. I think this is probably from his wedding video. But just looking at the pitch there, Green Oils behind as well as one of the sponsors back in the day. And the blushing bride and Tim, there we go, standing in the tunnel. So Tim, that was great. Thank you for sending us that. I thought that would make a nice day I met. And a good excuse to play the music that some of you love and some of you hate. Over 500 watching tonight now, so thanks very much for your support. Means a lot. Well, now I guess we're going to have to look ahead to the game, which of course is tomorrow, New Year's Eve. Newcastle United taking on Leeds United at home in the Premier League. And as always, we'll hand over to Toon Stato to give us a little idea of what we've got in store.
Hello amigos, we're bidding farewell not only to the king of football Pele, but to an incredible calendar 2022, when Eddie Howe and the Magpies achieved so far 21 wins out of 35 games in the league, which is the best achievement by an English manager since the 90s, when only Kevin Keegan with 24 and 23 in 94 and 95 respectively, and Roy Evans with 22 in 96, have more wins in a calendar year, but both Keegan and Evans did it in 41 games, while Eddie is about to achieve it in 36. Talking of Newcastle, and the stats are incredible. Newcastle are unbeaten in 11 games in the league, which equals their achievement from 2011-2012 season, when we lost in the 12th game. We're looking for our 7th successive home win, something that we haven't done since Kevin Keegan and the Entertainers in 96, when the 7th win came against Man United in October, and the famous 5-0 win. And overall, we are unbeaten in 8 home league games so far since the beginning of the season, something that we haven't done since the beginning of the 95-96 season, when we lost after 13 games to Man United. Against Leeds, it all started back in January. Our first win for the calendar year was against them, and hopefully the last one will come too. We haven't won 2 times in a row against Leeds in the league since 2001-2002, and Leeds are currently 3 games unbeaten at St. James's Park. They have never gone 4 games without a win at St. James's Park in their entire history. Have a fantastic New Year, guys, and see you in 2023.
Big shout out to Andre's Ben. Clearly now getting out and about on his walker there. I can see Andre looking gradually towards the Ben, going, "Oh no, I'm trying to do this video." But hey, well done, Andre, and thanks very much, Toon Sato, for everything that you've done. Big shout out to Toon Tipster as well, who I know will be back in the new year. I know a lot of people keep asking after him. He's doing okay. He will be back in the new year. Injuries, well, Eddie Howe's press conference said it all today. John Joe Shelby's got a calf injury. He's got to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. Alexander Isak is not available tomorrow. Will be featuring at some point in January, to be confirmed. No answer as to which game is going to be his comeback. He'll come back when he's fit. Just on John Joe Shelby as well. Craig Hope in the Daily Mail obviously mentioned about John Joe Shelby's contract extension pending. Of course, that isn't going to be triggered until he starts a further 2 games. So as it stands, he will be out of contract in the summer. The other big question today was about Callum Wilson. Is he okay? He trained yesterday and he was training today. Would he start tomorrow was the question. Eddie Howe, as always, wouldn't give anything away. He just says, we'll see how he does today. So Callum Wilson, we hope will be available. We will wait and see. Leeds, of course, apart from saying that, how can they compete with Newcastle with all the money? In his press conference today was also whinging about the fact that they've had to play, a little bit later this week, and of course, less time to recover. Just get on with the game, for God's sake, man. Taylor Adams is going to be available for the trip to St. James's Park after serving his suspension. And on the road this season, well, Leeds have won once at Liverpool 2-1. They've drawn at Southampton 2-2. They've lost the other 5. Coming to Newcastle, haven't conceded 10 goals in the last 3 Premier League outings. Referee tomorrow is Simon Hooper. He's had just 1 game so far, which was the game against Nottingham Forest, and that was the opening day home victory. VAR is back in this game, of course. Michael Salisbury is in charge of that. And don't forget, with regards to transport, there's no strike action scheduled for tomorrow, but there is planned engineering work if you're coming by train, which is around the York area. So there's going to be less services. So if you're coming up by train, probably best to come up earlier, the better. Don't forget as well, the food bank will be placed on Strawberry Place opposite Shearers. And a reminder that anything goes in the buckets tomorrow will be doubled by Jamie Rubin, the Newcastle United director. So well worth sticking. Even £1 in, that's £2 in. Whatever you can stick in, stick it in there. No TV coverage, of course, because this is a Saturday kickoff at 3 o'clock. You'll be able to catch up with it on Match of the Day. So, guys, Keith, coming to you first. Big game this. How do you see it going? And give us your prediction.
I think whenever we used to play Leeds, I always felt like over the years, and people know I go back a long way, so you know, I watched them in the Billy Bremen and Norman Hunter days, but we always seemed to get bullied off Leeds. They were always a team, you know, and we used to tease them. There's a lot of Leeds fans in the village where I was born, and we used to sing "Dirty, Dirty Leeds." It was a big chant to them because they were a dirty team over the years. But I always felt, I remember when the playoffs, when we played Sunderland that time, where I just felt Sunderland wanted the ball more than us, and they closed people down more than us. And now they have a phrase for it called turnovers. They talk about turnovers where people come in and you know, win the ball back. So the clever word now is turnovers. But I always felt that in that playoff game against Sunderland, they won the ball back more because they wanted it more. And I feel as though Leeds over the years, even though they haven't had the best team, and even when they came up, I felt last season, I just felt as though they were hungrier to get the ball. And I thought even when they had that Alicia, what they call him, I always felt as though he got them marching, got them chasing, got them grafting. But times have changed. Eddie Howe has Newcastle doing that better than anybody in the Premier League. We win more balls back than anybody. We bully people. And I don't think we bully them in a nasty way. I don't think we're dirty. I just think we're more committed. So right now, I'm wetting my pants. I'm like gagging to go at the match tomorrow. I'm absolutely buzzing to go at the game in between Christmas and New Year, saying Newcastle play late at home. I think we're going to batter them. I think we're going to batter them off the ball, on the ball. I think we're going to work hard. And I'm talking about little lads with no pickings on them like Mickey. I think he's going to batter them with energy, with zest, with just sheer commitment. So I think Newcastle's going to go at them. I think that Newcastle have got too much for Leeds. I've never felt like this for years. I think we've got too much for them. I mean, this is going back to Keegan era, where you thought we'll murder these. Seriously, it's not my kind of call, but I think we'll beat them 3-0. I don't think I would concede against it because we're too good, we're too strong. I think we're too organised. I think we've got too much class. I think we've got better players than them. I think Newcastle's just a much better team than Leeds. And I don't want to sound like a pompous kid who thinks we've made it. I'm just dead proud that we've got a team who play to the absolute maximum ability. I think Eddie Howe's got if it was an engine, he's got to fire in all 8 pots and he's got absolutely tuned to the tit. And I just don't see, you know, I know the games we played against people like Palace and Bournemouth early in the season where we didn't break them down. I just think we attack from the back. And I think we just so much better. I do hope Wilson plays because his finishing is immaculate. I do hope Maxi comes on and plays a role, but it's going to be your Joe Lintons and your Brunos and your Trippiers and your Almirans that's going to win this game. It's going to be one with power, pressing, and commitment. And I think we're the best in the Premier League at it. I think we so together now. We should be able to go that game tomorrow. Confident we're going to win and we should do a job on it.
Yeah, Mitch, over to you, mate.
Well, as you all know, I've seen quite a bit of Leeds over the last few years. And when they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they're bloody awful. and that's something that hasn't changed under March and from when they were under Bielsa. But under March, they don't seem to have the same level of fight or aggression. And you said it right at the start. There, Steve, they've conceded 10 in the last 3 games. They're there for the taking. They really are there for the taking, and I don't say that about many teams very often. But I think if we can get into them early, that their confidence seems shot, and it seems easy once you get on top of them to keep them held down, which is something I wouldn't have said for one of Bielsa's sides. This lot looked like we can get at them, get into them, and if we pull ahead early, we're due to give somebody a proper shellacking. And it's a team like this who are low on confidence, are conceding goals. That it could well be that's the lamb to the slaughter, as it were. But we can't be arrogant about it, and I'm sure we won't be. I think that's one thing Howe's got installed in the team is the work rate will be there. There'll be no overconfidence. It's about being confident and not cocky. But I really feel Leeds are there for the taking, though.
Prediction, or have you got the dice?
I have the dice. So the dice says a penman.
3-1.
3-1.
Superb.
Well, I've gone for 3-0, and I've took Chris Wood to get the first goal. I've put a bet on. It's my only bet of the year. Steve, what about you?
This isn't the Leeds team of Bielsa. This isn't the Leeds team that plays with the intensity. They can when they want to, but he's tried to tighten them up the back and made them worse up front. And hasn't succeeded in making them tight at the back either, by the way. The players he's brought in, I think that when they had Ayling and they had Dallas and Harrison playing together, I think there was an intensity there that few teams could match under Bielsa. That seems to have gone from Leeds. They're not the intense fighting team that they were. I like the look of Tyler Adams in midfield, but again, he's not been playing. He's obviously been away at the World Cup. I think they're shaky. I think that it's going to be won or lost in midfield. I don't think it's going to be lost. I think it's going to be won in midfield. I think we're going to dominate that area of the pitch. I think we can certainly get at them. Defensively, we are very strong. I don't think they're very strong at all. In fact, they're very weak. And I'm like you, Steve. I'm going for a 3-0. I think it's there for the taking. We've got the best defence in the country. You know, people are forgetting that we've conceded less goals than anyone else. And we've built that. That's part of our building block. It's the building block that few people have actually taken heed of and looked at. Everybody's looked at the performances of Bruno and they're looking at the goals of Almiron and the goals of Wilson and the battling performances of Joe Linton and Willock and the way that ASM, when he's fit, can come on and change the game. But nobody's ever concentrated on the back four. And for me, the back four is the strongest back four in the league. It's still got room for improvement, by the way, individually and collectively. But I think that we are far better than Leeds United, and we're there for a 3-0 win tomorrow.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about Arsenal as well, because before we come back, of course, we've got a trip down to the Emirates on the 3rd of January, 7:45 kickoff. The game's live on Sky Sports, 3,000 tickets sold for that away game. Referee is Andy Madeley. VAR is Stuart Atwell. Don't forget, there is a national rail strike that day, which means that the London Overground services won't be running. The underground services won't be affected. As always, Scunny Mag has sent us his trip down to London review, which bars to go to. So we'll just play this.
Hi guys, Paul here with your away day guide to Arsenal. For those of you coming in by train, if we're not affected by the strikes, you'll most likely be coming into King's Cross from the north. The easiest route to the ground is via the Piccadilly line, getting off at Arsenal Station. The closest station to the ground is actually Holloway Road, but that is closed on match days, so don't try to head there. For those of you driving down, it's London, so there's not a lot of parking around the grounds unless you know the area. Your easiest option is park and ride. There are a few in the north. My favourite for Arsenal is Cockfosters, and you are straight on the tube down to Arsenal Station again. Your postcode for Cockfosters car park is Echo November 4 0 Delta Zulu, and your what 3 words to the car park entrance is pump stuck hours. So if you have come in the tube, as you get closer to the ground, the 2 nearest pubs that are away friendly are actually just outside the Finsbury Park tube station, which is 1 step further on from Arsenal Station. So probably better to head there. The Blackstock, your postcode is November 4 to Hotel Yankee, and your what 3 words for the Blackstock is slot noise charm. This can get really busy. There is a pub just over the road called the 12 Pins, and your postcode for that is November 4 to Delta Echo. Your what 3 words is newly struck games, and then as you're heading down to the ground, there is an away friendly pub next to the footbridge that goes over the railway line to the ground for the away entrance. The pub is called the Drayton Park. The postcode is November 5-1 November Delta, and your what 3 words is back serves tips, although that does get very busy, so you might be better holding off at one of the earlier pubs. Once you're ready to go into the ground, just across the road there's a Tesco Express. Just around the corner from that there's a footbridge. It'll take you over to the away turnstiles. The what 3 words for the start of that footbridge, because it's easy to find, is twist fetch list, and the away fans are housed on the south-east corner of the ground in the lower tier, so you have to go into the stadium and under the home fans, which will be sitting above you and hopefully crying into their beers by half time. Have a fantastic day.
At Scunny Mag Paul, follow him on Twitter. He's done a wonderful book which gives you a guide to all your way grounds. So, come on, people. He should be a commentator on the snooker, for God's sake. How Mark? He's got a relaxing voice. Jules says, Cockfosters, snigger. You can tell it's Christmas. Julie's got the sherry out there. This is a big game, Keith. Whether we like it or not, we're looking at the right end of the table, not the wrong end of the table. Dare will be confident going down to there. I mean, we're going, if we come off the back of another win, that's 4 months unbeaten. If we win tomorrow, going down there, we're the form team. We've got the best defense in the league. Something's got to give, though. Something's got to give. We're going to go down there with a bit of confidence.
There's a few things. I mean, I think tomorrow we'll win well. I think Arsenal will struggle to beat Brighton. I think Arsenal will be going that game, and I think they'll drop 2 points at Brighton. So I think they will burst. I think Brighton are a cracking team. I think they're underrated. So I think Arsenal, when we play them, well, maybe had the feathers clipped a little bit. I'm going to Arsenal. I'm going down to the game, and I'm going down thinking they're going to win. If I thought we were going to get beat, in the past I've gone down, we've been 2-0 down after 20 minutes. If I thought I probably wouldn't be as keen to go, because there's all kinds of strikes and all kinds all the time. But I'm going down, expect to see Newcastle win. I think that's going to be the one we really put the fox in the hen cray. I think when we beat Arsenal at the Emirates, I think it's going to send a bigger message. They said to us, after Christmas, come Christmas, everyone said, well, if you beat Leicester after this big break, if you can keep your run going, if your players can do that, if you can get a result at Leicester, even if you get a draw. We're 2-0 up after 8 minutes. We put the white flag out at 31 minutes. Newcastle, people don't realise what spirit that's doing for them. So when we go down to Arsenal, honestly, they've got some good players, but so have we. And they've got some fancy players, but we've got some strong players. And I just don't think that we're going to let them do to us what they do to the people. I think Newcastle's going to give them the game of life. And I'm predicting 2-1 Newcastle away from home.
Okay, Mitch.
Opportunity for us to lay a mark at them, see where we're really at. The squad are definitely up for it. That was clear during the talks with the players in Riyadh when Jacob Murphy was asked which game he's looking forward to. We said Arsenal.
Yeah.
And there was a beaming Eddie Howe in the audience where he was explaining why. And it's obviously been talked about in the dressing room. It's obviously in their mindsets. to go down there and give them a damn good go. Personally, I think it'll be a draw, and I'd take that all day long. But I think it's a real opportunity for us to lay a marker of just exactly where we are at then.
Are you going to roll the dice for it?
Oh, yeah, I can do.
We've got nothing to lose, have we?
2. Exactly, there is nought to lose. And the dice is thrown up 3-0, which would be not terribly clever. I'm guessing that's the Arsenal, because we're the away team.
Yeah. Anything better than that will do. Yeah, to be honest, let's see. Steve?
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal are a lot stronger than they were last season in the way they're playing. Defensively, they're a lot tighter. They seem to have got their act together. They've got a really tight middle three as well. You know, when Xhaka's playing, Partey and Odegaard's the danger man, isn't he? He's the man who pulls the string, just like Bruno does for us. But he's got willing workers around him, and their struggle will be when they've just got Martinelli up front, either play on his own or with Nketiah. And we all know that Xhaka had a decent World Cup, and he's a quality player. So I think it's going to be a really, really interesting encounter. I can see a draw, and I'll be quite happy with the draw. The very fact that we're talking and thinking this is Newcastle United
exactly
draw, that's, you know, and the confidence that we've got, and possibly coming away with it with 3, who knows? But we're up there with them. They're sitting at the top of the league, and we're going up there, and we're not frightened. That's what it's all about. That's what supporting the big boys now is like. That's what it's like, mixing with the big boys and not being scared of them. And that's exactly what Jacob Murphy was getting at. He was saying at that event that we went to, and I was there with Mitch, he was trying to get the point of, we're looking forward to going. We're not frightened to go there now. We're looking forward to go. And that's what it's all about. And I'll go for a 1-1 draw. I'll be happy with a 1-1 draw. And I think, like exactly as Keith said, I think their difficulty is the game tomorrow. They've got an important fixture tomorrow. Their fixture tomorrow is more important to them than our fixture is against Leeds United.
Yeah, I'm going for a 1-1 draw.
2-1.
I think we'll beat Leeds comfortably 3-0, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I'm sorry we haven't been able to get to your questions tonight. I will answer this one, Alan. Would I ever be given a fanzine again? I've been there, done it, got the T-shirt. I've done it a couple of times, Alan. True Faith have gone back to digital format only. I think we need a print fanzine. Those things are more expensive. I talked about it with John, who's in the chat, and at the moment, I just haven't got the time to do it. If there was a load of people in the NUFC Matters community who suddenly wanted to do one, I could certainly look at it. But at the moment, no is the answer to that. I've not just done one. I've done 3 in the last 25 years. So I'm not going to go back. Dean, come back on another time with that question. Start next week with it if you want. Question for us all. Look, our best 11 now. How many changes do you think there'll be to our best 11 in the first Champions League game at home next season? I love it, Dean. I love the confidence. Come back to us with that one next week. Put it early in the chat next week, and we'll start with that one, because I do have to finish.
The cat.
Well, I've got to finish with a cap, but I've also got to finish with 2 items. I'm going to finish with Elliot first. I just saw a shoplifter stealing a turkey from Tesco's and running out the store being chased by security. I yelled at him, "What are you doing with that?" He shouted back, "Potatoes, sprouts and pigs in blankets."
That's one of his better ones, that like.
That's it. Christmas is officially over now. We've done Elliot's last Christmas joke. Just to squeeze the clues in, the first one was November the 12th, 1966. The second clue was 135 league and cup goals. And your third clue was FA Youth Cup winner, 1985. So you'll have one more clue in the first Amigos of 2023. John will have a question to go with that. And the first person in the chat will win a prize. So keep an eye out for that. next Friday. Don't forget the Food Bank t-shirt. I think it's already up to £100. Steve Bennett has bid £100. So that's Pelly and Peter Beardsley. It's going to be signed by Beardsley. So get that. Get your bid in. Place the bid on the post on my Twitter, and I'll announce the winner of that next Friday. And just a little passing side note. Rest in peace, Barry Heinsohn. Had the pleasure of meeting Barry on many occasions at many non-league grounds. I met him when I was up at the BBC, giving me views on Newcastle United over the last 30 years. Barry was a former headmaster. Of course, he became known to many non-league people. Covered the non-league scene for decades, along with Paul Dixon, of course, who was still at Radio Newcastle. He was an author as well. He had a book published called Local Legends in Black and White, which was his own account of his favourite Newcastle United players. But of course, everyone's condolences from NUFC matters go to his family and many friends in the area. I'm sure he'll get a cracking send-off. Rest in peace, Barry. It was a pleasure to know you, mate. Absolute pleasure to know you. Okay, Julie, I haven't forgotten. Here comes Troll of the Week. I like this one. I put the post up about Pavel's family yesterday, paying respect to the big man in his hometown. Uncle Pig says, I hate you, but it's a good post. Thank you, mate. I think.
Take that one, yeah.
Well, yeah, I take it. It's a nicer one.
Probably hate him, but still a good post.
All right, that's it. Mark Ritchie says, great show, the neat lads. Happy New Year. 6 points and 2 cup wins will do nicely. John, thanks for all your efforts, John. I said it in previous shows before Christmas. John's a bit of an unsung hero on here. If it wasn't for him, this money wouldn't be getting made week in, week out for the food banks. A big thanks to John for everything he has done this year on and off screen. And big thank you to all the moderators, the likes, of Rachel and Tom and Mozza and Julie and all the people who've got that little job in the chat of just making sure that it stays decent. And it doesn't take a great deal of work, it has to be said, but everybody in the chat as well has played their part. Great questions. And like I say, it wouldn't be a show without you guys. Over 500 who've been watching live tonight. It's been fantastic. We know a lot of you play catch up. And have to watch it, at different parts of the week and different parts of the day. But that's it. That's the last live show from NUFC Matters for 2022. Thanks for all your support. It's been a testing year for me personally, away from the screen as well. But thanks to everybody for all your help. And 2023, let's hope it brings that silverware we all crave. Enjoy the game if you're going to it tomorrow, and enjoy the game against Arsenal. I'll be back on Monday night though with the fans forum. Thanks to Keith. Thanks to Mitch. Thanks to Steve. Take care, lads.
Happy New Year.
Cheers, lads.
Happy New Year. Take care.